the Royals Rundown, powered by Royals Report.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast, powered by Royals Report on the Nordcast Network. I am your host, Evan Dickinson, otherwise known as Royals Report, from his girlfriend's room here today, talking about the Royals' past weekend against the Norfolk Admirals. Yes, the Royals took on the worst team in the ECHL this past weekend, and although it wasn't a clean sweep, it was the expectation that I had at hand was that they needed to win at least 2 of 3. I said that in the preview earlier in the week, and they did exactly what I asked for. Obviously, you want to get all 3 games against a team that is as not good as the Norfolk Admirals, but hey, we'll take the 4 of 6 points. We'll take those points for sure, and the fun hockey that we saw this past weekend. So going over all the games here in depth, we'll start off with the Friday game, which was not a great one. And I want to introduce you all to a term some of you may not know, and that is a trap game. A trap game is when you're playing a team who you are far more favored in, you're far more superior in, but you kind of let that theory, you let that get the best of you. You don't play as good. You think you can take this team easier. And then as a result, the Royals were the victim of that here. They lost to Norfolk 5-1. Now, Norfolk was riding into this game on a 7-game losing streak, so that made it even more of a trap game. Obviously, as we recapped in our previous Royals Rundown preview, we talked about how the Admirals lost in a weekend against the Florida Everblades. So, I had a feeling that this was going to be a game where the Royals were going to lose. It was on the road, and would you look at that? It happened. So, Jack O'Leary and Dawson Bartos scored in the first period. It's 2-0 Admirals right away, and I was like, yep, about what I expected. Ben Zloty from O'Leary and Yoder would make it 3-0 Norfolk, and then it was 4-0 Norfolk. The Royals did get one to make it a 4-1 game, but then an empty net goal from Grant Hebert made it a 5-1 final. So, again, it stinks. It's unfortunate, but it happens. I really, I was upset about it, but I wasn't too upset about it because, again, games like this do happen. You're going to have trap games. Norfolk's not going to lose every game this season. So, again, it happens. We'll see, it is what it is, honestly. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at this game. Then we had some news that broke on Saturday morning that do really tie into this pretty well. So I want to start off with the Hunter Johannes trade, where Hunter Johannes was traded to the Phantoms from the Charlotte Checkers, was then sent down to Reading, and he obviously had to fly out to the Royals and such. And he got there at 4 p.m. He got there at 4. So this guy had a pretty eventful day. He moved out of his place in Savannah in the morning. He would go and fly up to Philadelphia, drive the 2.5 or 2-hour bus ride to Reading. He got to Reading, and then he goes and scores a hat trick. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to get into that game in just a moment. And Hunter himself, he's the highlight of this episode. But we got to talk about Vinny Purpura, who was traded this past weekend as well to the Ghost Pirates for future considerations. It's really unfortunate. I'm not going to deny that. But honestly, good for Purpura. Good for Purpura to get himself somewhere and probably get some playing time. Good for him. Simply being put, it's great to see that he is going to a team where he's going to play a lot more. He was obviously the third string here for Reading. And what a lot of people don't understand, yes, Purpura was phenomenal for us. He was so good and he was so much fun to watch. Peters has to play the AHL contracted goalies. It's unfortunate, but he has to. He has to play the AHL contracted goaltenders. Otherwise, he's going to get in trouble. Do you think that Allentown wants to see Vinny Purpura be the starting goaltender every single game? No. That's why we didn't see Purpura for like 3 weeks, essentially. He was up in the press box. And when I talked to Peters on Saturday night, he said that this was more or less out of Purpura's best interest. And I respect that because maybe Purpura wanted out of here himself, maybe not, but he wasn't playing. And what's the point of even being a hockey player if you're not going to play? So he's going to a different place. He's going to a different team to get a different chance. And I look at that and I say, yeah, that's good management there by Peters. And again, like I know there are people who don't like Peters. I don't think you guys ever gave him a chance. People who don't like him. I don't think this was in his control. That's purely speculation on my part. I don't know a lot of things about it, but I don't think this was something that like he would have wanted to do. I think he would have wanted to play Peters, but I don't think he was able to because the Phantoms want them to play Peretz and Petrozelli because they're under AHL contracts. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Moving on from that, then, you go to the other game against the Norfolk Admirals. They moved off of Norfolk and they moved on to Reading. And let's just say that first period was pretty damn chaotic, I must say. So you start off, it was Christmas vacation night, of course. 36 seconds in, Hunter Johannes, first goal as a Royal in like the third hour being in Reading. Like again, he got to Reading at 4 p.m. He's only been there for a couple hours, and then 36 seconds in, he scores. Wow. And then not long after that, Christoph Papp ties the game. Like literally not even 20 seconds later. And you're like, oh my gosh, 30 seconds in for the Royals? That's crazy. And then all of a sudden it's a 1-1 hockey game. And you're like, well, there's that. But not long after that, then Carson Golder from Ben Meehan made it a 2-1 lead after 20 minutes of play. The Royals were the better team in that period. They had great offensive pressure on the Admirals and got a lot of shots on net, and they played really well overall in that first period. And that was a big difference from the periods prior, especially in Norfolk, to where they let Norfolk just kind of get on them first. Second period, there was a lot more goals in this period for sure. You saw Brady Florent from Hebert and Connolly, just a minute in as well, make it a 2-2 game. And then Carter Berger, his first goal as a Royal, made it a 3-2 lead for Reading. I can't express enough how much I love Carter Berger. This guy's a phenomenal player. He is so much fun to watch out there on the ice and is just such a great player. Great puck movement. Good skating ability. Such a phenomenal defenseman on that back end. So the Admirals did answer back. Osmundson from O'Leary and Hebert, that's a 3-3 game right then and there. And after that, the Royals would then explode for 2 more goals. Not even that long after that Osmundson goal, Johannes gets his second of the game from Frasca and Petrozelli, making it a 3-2 lead or 4-3 lead for the Royals. Then Alec Butcher, later on in that period, made it a 5-3 game from Michel and McMenamin. And keep in mind, during that span, from that Florent goal to the Johannes goal, that's 8 minutes of play. That's 4 goals in just 8 minutes there. It was just constant goal scoring. I thought it was going to get worse. I mean, it kind of did for Norfolk, not really for Reading, but there was just so many goals being scored in this game. So it's 5-3 after the end of 40 minutes of play. Nolan Burke comes in there then from Sevigny and Sajin, makes it a 6-3 lead for the Royals, and that was pretty much it. Again, Norfolk did pull their goaltender, which left Hunter Johannes to get the hat trick from Carter Berger and Jacob Frasca. Funny thing enough is that with those Christmas vacation jerseys, the ECHL officials could not tell who was on the ice for that goal. They could not tell who assisted Johannes on that goal. And they knew it was Frasca who threw the puck around to a defenseman, but they could not tell who it was. So, fortunately for your boy here, I recorded the video of Johansson's empty net goal to be the hat trick winner. And I watched the play down. It was hard to tell from my angle, but from all the other guys' angles, they couldn't tell. I could tell that it was Artem Guriev and Berger on the ice, and Berger was the one that passed that puck around. So there you go. I was the one that could figure out that other assist, but just wanted to toot my own horn there real quick. But there you go. 7-3 final score. What a game. Hunter Johannes, his first hat trick since Shane Seller back in 23-24. Hasn't been that often since they've scored a hat trick, and they get one here tonight from a player who was literally traded to them this morning. This morning. It's actually insane. I genuinely can't comprehend it. Like, if that were me, I'd be asleep by 4 p.m. I would not be playing a hockey game just 12 hours later. What a game from him. So, obviously, that wasn't the end of things. They would obviously go on and play a game on Sunday as well. And I honestly thought that this game was a much more complete game for the Royals. I'm not going to lie to you. So, in that first period, Brandon Sagan from Butcher and Johannes made it a 1-0 lead for the Royals. Johannes another assist. But regardless, I really felt like the Royals in that first 2 periods of play, they really controlled things. They really controlled a lot of the game. They were getting a lot of chances. They were playing very well on the power play. They literally scored on the power play basically like a minute after it ended. So again, like, they were getting their real offensive opportunities. Second period, Alec Butcher from Kulikov and Hadfield made it a 2-0 game. And again, another instance of the Royals just really pressuring it, giving it to the Royals or giving it to the Admirals. Peretz was phenomenal. The shots were 16-8 in that second period. Third period, the Admirals did start making a comeback. They scored a goal just 3 minutes into that third period. It was Zalati with another goal, another point on this weekend. And then the Royals did hold on. Brandon Sagan, his second goal of the game from Hadfield and Peretz, both goaltenders with assists this weekend. I thought that was great. And it's a 3-1 final. So overall, the Royals take 4 of 6 points against the worst team in the ECHL. That composes them overall in the ECHL standings. They are now second in the North Division heading into this week. They are currently, as well as that too, 5th in the conference. And overall in the ECHL, they rank 11th. So again, that shows that there's a pretty sizable gap between the North Division and the Wheeling Nailers, which is the rest of the North Division, and then also the South Division too. There's a lot of good teams in the South as well. Like Florida's looking great again this year, South Carolina, and Atlanta as well. So the Royals will come in here and they will play the Adirondack Thunder, who had a really good weekend against the Nailers in a 3-game series. They play them on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Just previewing the Wednesday game here, obviously, will be in the arena for that. It is in Reading. Again, these two teams played back in November on that Saturday where the Royals got a 7-3 win. So Adirondack looking to come back here and get some revenge. So we'll see what happens there with that. But that will conclude this edition of the Royals Rundown. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like it down below and subscribe if you're new to the Nordcast Network. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys at the rink. Let's go Royals.